now putting that behind us a couple weeks ago, a lot of things can change in the short span of a week. Some people keep grinding. Some teams don't really play much at all together. With that said, we do have a Titan level matchup here, Bagels, and you want to give us a little bit of insight into what we're seeing here?
Well, there is a slight caveat that this, you would think that it's a Titan matchup, but I have since been given information, along with being in the lobby, that the only Titan player on the Dragons team for this will be Luxury, as they're going to be playing with Mayo and Teshega on the Dragons side. And the Dragons, they're already 0-4, and, as a roster, I kind of like their roster. They got Burr and Luxury there. I'm trying to remember who exactly the other third is on that roster. I'll have that ready for you in a second. But it's a team that I'm not expecting to be 0-4, yet they are, and there must just be some scheduling issues. And they also have Wise. So Burr, Wise, and Luxury. That's not a bad team, but yet they find themselves at the bottom at 0-4 there. And again, presumably, unless another replacement player comes in midway through the series, that they will be using more subs again and likely go 0-5 against this Spartans team, who is miraculously at a 3-1 record despite having Dank on the team. And Dank is not widely regarded to be a great player at all. No offense to him, but he finds himself at 3-1 for the team record. So some anomalies on both sides, I will say.
And not exactly a regular 3-1, as the Spartans lost their first game of the season and have gone undefeated since then to go on and win 3 games in a row, looking to get their fourth here. And like you mentioned, I actually wasn't able to find much information. Most of the members of the Spartans roster are new to the league, while the Spartans in general are a brand new team to the Nemesis League as a whole. This is their first season ever, so overall the Spartans are 3-1. So this team, we haven't really had the chance to see much from them, but they're putting up some good results. And you really, even though we don't really know what they're bringing to the table yet, obviously we have to give them the edge here, as they are playing against some rival players. But we've had weird things happen before. In just the last bout of matches, there was a novice player who won in the Titan League series. So anything can happen, Bagels. Anything can happen.
That is absolutely true. And I guess if there was a team to pull off an upset against, it would be Dank. But then again, like you said, we haven't seen anything really from these other 2 players here who are new to the league, and like you said, a new team as well. And in fact, neither of these teams have faced each other historically, because this is a new org. And looking at the power rankings heading into this week, they are sitting at number 6, the Spartans are. 1 spot ahead my team in the Grandmasters, so not quite sure what the power rankers are thinking there. The Spartans are better than the Grandmasters. We'll have to see who, if we can take a dub later on today, because I think this should be a surefire win for them. But perhaps not a sweep, but I do think the Spartans will take this one as... I was going to say we are waiting for them to get in the lobby, but they have finally joined 2 minutes shy of the deadline. So we should be getting this one underway shortly. But yeah, I mean, the Spartans, there's kind of been a lot of surprises around the Titan League. The Spartans, Bananas, are both teams that have new players, but have gotten on to have really good records here. So, we'll have to wait and see what the rest of the season holds for them. But I guess I think I know your answer, Merely, but prediction heading into this one?
Yeah, it's hard to predict anything other than a sweep. You know what, though? I think I'm going to give 1 game. I think the Dragons have it in them to take at least 1 game. I think the key component for them, if they are playing the assumedly much more solid roster of the Spartans here, I think they have to try to create chaos. We've seen it before. If you just throw a bunch of wrenches everywhere, some might hit your own team, but if you can just try to confuse the other team enough, you might be able to weasel your way out of at least 1 victory there. But I definitely think it's going to be tough for them to stand up against this roster.
That being said, it looks like the Spartans are going to be using a sub of their own, because they have Vulcan on the other side. And I believe Mr. S is also a sub as the one Titan on the roster, it looks like, will get the first goal. So perhaps this match is not as predictable as we think it'll be.
So I am extremely confused now because I don't have any idea who Mr. S is. I'm pretty sure Vulcan is a rival player as well, like you mentioned. But this, I'm going to assume that Mr. S is a Titan League FA, and I'm actually going to double check my work after concluding my statement. Hopefully I didn't not spread any fake news. But either way, if Mr. S does happen to be on their rival team, then we're pretty much just watching a rival matchup here. And now that changes things quite a bit. All right,
I remember now.
Inform us, please.
Temp. That is actually Temp. Mr. S. I forgot he changed his name. And the only reason I knew that is because he was on my friends list. So that is actually Temp. That is because his first name starts with an S. The Salahi.
And Temp is a Titan League player, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Former Reapers teammate of mine where we almost made it to grand finals, so he should be very capable in this matchup. That being said, Vulcan is indeed a rival player, and the man we were just talking about will score, and Spartans find themselves up 2-0.
And already it's kind of looking like smooth sailing for Spartans. I have spent the first half of this match distracted by figuring out what was going on with the rosters. But now that things have settled and the dust has cleared, it still seems that the Spartans maintain a pretty advantageous position in terms of rank disparity. As, you know, Vulcan is one rival player, but it's much easier to fill in one rival player with two coordinated, and if I remember correctly, Temp was not only a Titan player, but being on the Reapers, he was quite a good Titan player as well. Fitting in with Shyland here, who we've already seen pop off. I mean, it looks like they definitely have a huge edge in chemistry and speed of play so far.
Yeah, well, I do think both of them will be capable, and Vulcan definitely, he's made playoffs a few times as well, so I think they definitely have the advantage heading into this one. But it does look like Temp is a free agent sub-in, most likely, because he's not on the roster, so definitely a free agent sub-in. But either way, I think he will do a good part here. And again, okay, well, I was going to kind of finish up the confusion with the rosters, as that's now taken just over 2.5 minutes to kind of figure out what the hell is going on. As the defense of the Dragons doesn't know what's going on, and they find themselves down 3-0, and they have no shots on the board.
You know, you could definitely sense a little bit of awkwardness in defense in the first two goals and the first half of this game before that misplay, but it became quite evident that there is some large issues at play here, as Tashega, as I say that, their defense has not been top tier, but they will get it back, and a nice shot will bring them within 2 at least.
Yeah, a lot of space just being given by Sheelan there. I don't know how to pronounce that actually. Sheelan. We'll go Sheelan. Is that Sheelan's ult? Did Sheelan get the Titan?
Maybe he did.
That'd be awfully impressive. I doubt it, but he just took a little bit too much time there in the corner, and that allowed the shot to come through. And you know, Tashega, very capable player. I consider him to be the best rival player the past few seasons, and I think he'll be able to succeed a little bit in this matchup, despite the cards being laid against him, as the Dragons are looking to try and get back into this one. Ball dumped out into the corner, but quickly going to be advanced on the other side by the Spartans. But then again, the ping pong coming into play, and pass to the middle. Here's Mayo for the shot. Shot on the bump comes out, and Mayo will collect the goal. Not the best shot, but the bump did come through.
And that was a huge bump, and trust in the teammate. Shyland really didn't get the best clear. Vulcan was in a great place to save it, but Tashega just comes barreling through, taking him out of the way. And now, only a 1-goal difference. You know, now that this roster has sort of settled down, figured out how to get the ball into the offensive half, they look a lot more comfortable when they are not stuck in their defensive.
Yeah, and I have been given word from free agent Bubba there in chat that it is Sheelan, I believe. Or Shillan. No, it might be Shillen. It really just depends on how you pronounce the word shit. So, listen. That's just the information he gave me in chat. So I'm just rolling with that. As chaos is erupting around the field, Mayo looking to put a shot on, and he will. Vulcan will send this away to the corner. But Luxury gonna have this ball slip past him for now. Mayo, good clear out, but Vulcan gonna shut it down to the middle, over to Temp. We'll get demos, and that's a big factor of Temp's playstyle as well. He likes to go for a lot of demos. He did that a lot on Reapers. Is Shillen with a shot, but quickly saved away by Tashega, and the Dragons, they find themselves down with 1 goal here, and they got a few seconds left.
And now with time ticking, they've looked much better, but they have to try and find some sort of pop-off here in the last few seconds as Mr. S trying to keep this one close. It's a huge beat, and Luxury might be there for the shot. It's just behind Shylin, but he barely makes a touch. This ball will drop. The Spartans, after looking comfortable in the first half, kind of gave up that edge, allowed the Dragons to come back, but they will maintain victorious. Although, you know, from the start of the game, I do like what we're seeing a lot more here now, Bagels.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a good, after finding themselves down 3-0 with over halftime, Dragons really came back into that one. But at the same time, Spartans were kind of giving them a little bit more space, so I don't know if that was Spartans playing a little bit more hesitant or Dragons kind of starting to warm up. I'd venture Dragons starting to warm up a little bit there, as they did start to look better. But unfortunately, Luxury in the final seconds there, it looked like he had a pretty quality opportunity, but he just rushed the shot. He kind of had the right idea to double jump pop that, but just needed an extra second of time to kind of get a little bit shot, or maybe put it on the left side. But either way, an opportunity got awry. But, you know, I'm looking a little hopeful headed into game 2 here.
Yeah, you know what? And the more I look at this Dragons roster, the more I think, you know, you think about it's 2 rival players, 1 Titan, but Luxury is no ordinary Titan player, and Mayo and Tashega are not really ordinary rival league players. I think they both have exceptional mechanics for their ranks. And they really do seem to have an ability to step up when it calls upon them. They just have to use their speed and try to not make these silly kind of mistakes that got them scored on. I mean, we won't talk about Mayo's mishap in the last one too much, as already Spartans off to another hot start, and this is not what you want to see if you're rooting for the Dragons.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think you may have cursed him right there. You were just talking about how you didn't want to talk about Mayo's mistake, but he made another blatant one there, rotating into the corner and just allowing too much space, and the shot just ultimately goes through. But yeah, I mean, Mayo and Tashega are probably 2 of the best rivals in the rival league. And, you know, if they're gonna pull off the upset, that would be the 2 players to do it. But again, they find themselves under the gun here in the opening seconds. Vulcan gets a solid clear. Mayo gonna look to bang this one, but Temp cutting it off early to the middle for Shillen. Dumped now into the corner, but quickly gonna beat out Luxury and looking for that double tap, and he will find it. He had 9 boosts left in the tank, but he didn't need to use it.
And that just shows how important that first touch is. Shillen getting it perfectly off the ceiling, and you could kind of tell as soon as he had off the ceiling, he could read exactly where it was going, and he didn't even have to do anything. It was so good, he just gets it off the backboard, taps it in lightly, and Spartans now looking even more confident here on the Dragons to try and step up and really come through with the low 50. And Mr. S just already 50 seconds gone, and, you know, a little bit of hope evaporating as well for the Dragons.
Yeah, I mean, they almost came back with a 3-0 lead with less time, so, I mean, they got more time to work with here, but definitely 50 seconds in, 3 goals, and the nature of how those goals have been scored is not looking pretty for the Dragons at the moment. And, you know, that was another factor of Mr. S's playstyle as well when he was on the Reapers, is he had that, almost similar to Bubbly, is he's got a really good ground game, he's got the really good dribbles and the demos, and he's got the mechanics as well, so kind of an all-around player, just as long as his rotation is in check. And looking to see him go onto a solid team, assuming he gets picked up here sometime this week or the next, as now Shillen receiving a pass, looking for the top left corner, but Mayo will get a good save to keep the Dragons in this one, and they will quickly counterattack on the transition. And, this is very similar to how the last game went.
Yeah, so far it's pretty much the same script. And a nice counterattack, a little bit of lackluster defense there, just kind of careless from the Spartans to allow that simple pass play to work out. But it was effective, and similar to last game, I want to say I think those mistakes were much more obvious when the Spartans gave back the goals, but we've seen that they can be prone to make these simple mistakes, and if the Dragons capitalize like they did on that play, they have plenty of time to make something happen, as long as they stay cool, calm, collected, and just kind of wait out, because like I said, we have seen the Spartans are making some of these kind of simple mistakes, allowing opportunities. As what a save from Luxury. The Dragons defense stepping up finally, it seems.
Yeah, as a calculated fake almost coming out, but the save quickly followed up shortly after. And yeah, that was a great save by Luxury to keep his team in the game, although quickly off the corner, Teixeira with a slight pop. I was expecting the half volley that down the field, but Luxury, quick touch, beats out two. Teixeira looking for the bump or the dribble. Got a little bit of a 50 and ended up bumping Schillen, but for some reason the net is open, and I thought he may have taken that a little too high, but Vulcan actually going to get the goal steal.
I'm struggling to kind of see what happened here. I was watching Mr. S's perspective, and I saw him cut for the ball, which looked like an easy possession, and then he turned around and there was just no one in the net. I'm not sure if that was a clean overcommit by the offense of the Dragons, but either way, especially after such an incredible save, do you hate to see the defense completely fall apart like that? That's going to make their job that much harder trying to come back in this game.
Yeah, and a demo did come out, but it looked like all three players were kind of past the midline anyway. So definitely an overcommit either way. Who knows exactly where and when that demo took place, but either way, ended up producing as a factor of that goal. But still 2 minutes for the Dragons to try and work their way back into this. They got 3 shots, which isn't terribly far behind the Spartans' 7. Although a redirect coming out and a quick passing play, you love to see the small ball passing plays. And okay, maybe this isn't going the way of Game 1. This is domination.
Yeah, they took the script and they crossed out the part where the Spartans, or where the Dragons, even get a chance to come back. Pulling up with some great plays now, and it looks like the team chemistry is finally starting to come together as they're making these plays happen. And they're not easy to deal with if you're the Dragons, but the Spartans are also just taking advantage of these small mistakes by the Dragons, poking holes in their defense and flying through. Now 5-1, looking pretty convincing for the Spartans here, unless the Dragons can pull off something miraculous.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going the favor of the Spartans' way. The Luxury perhaps looking to get some momentum, but a huge dunk. Vulcan already up. With perhaps the calculated fake. Schillen with the flip reset, fakes out the last 2 defenders. They were both chomping at the bit for that first shot, but he waited very patiently.
And the flip reset catch gets both defenders to jump, as I think they expected a shot or air dribble or something quick there, but the slow play weaves its way right through both of them. Now this game is surely out of reach for the Dragons. They just have to try and focus on the next game and what they can try to change. They have to try and just kind of forget about this one. A 6-1 loss, not something you really want to keep, even though you will be thinking about in the back of your mind. You have to try to happen and just forget it ever happened and come out swinging. But it's going to be hard when the Spartans are playing this confident now. You expect they'll continue in Game 3, and now I guess the Dragons just have to try to use that overconfidence against them.
Looks like it will not be a 6-1, and it will be the Brazil coming out. But yeah, I mean, I think they've kind of been trying to be too aggressive this game. Like you mentioned, it seems like the way to beat them is to try and let the Spartans overcommit and make mistakes, but at the same time, you don't want to give them too much space, because you saw Schillen with the fake reset there and waited to use his flip, and he also got the double tap off the sidewall. And I mean, the demos are coming out from Mr. S, and even Vulcan, he's getting the touches he needs. He's not doing anything spectacular, but even he was going up for a redirect, and the defense was respecting him. And when he ended up whiffing that ball, that allowed Schillen a lot of space. So it's kind of this dichotomy between allowing them too much space and trying to be aggressive, but the aggression has not worked this game nearly how they were looking for, because a 2-3 loss game 1 quickly turned into a Brazil game 2.
Yeah, and that's not the result you want to see at all. Failing the balancing act spectacularly, unfortunately, it seemed the Spartans also didn't make as many mistakes in this game. You know, the first one, they gave up 1 goal just from a slow challenge. Another one because Schillen literally centered the ball for the Dragons. And the Dragons, without those freebies, struggling to really put anything together, struggling to find a way through. But they are still getting shots off, which, you know, is at least one sign of life. They have they had 5 shots total in this game, still 4 less than the Spartans. But at a 1-7 goal differential, you know, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, and the Spartans only coming up with 3 saves, so one of their shots just missed the mark, and depending on when or not that shot was placed, if it was earlier on in the game, could have been a closer score line. But, I mean, if it was later on in the game, it wouldn't have really mattered because the game was definitely out of reach at that point. But, I mean, yeah, this is promising for the Spartans, because if this is what Schillen can do, not necessarily that he's carrying, but he is kind of carrying with Mr. S and the free agent sub and Vulcan, the rival player, I'm definitely interested to see if we can get this team on stream again with their full roster up against a contending full roster, because this is kind of a walk in the park for them. But again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying with the Dragons earlier, is that I'm concerned as to why these players are consistently not showing up, and why I believe Biscuit hasn't really made a move on the roster to try and make sure that these teams are at least showing up to play without sub-ins.
Yeah, and that's a tough spot to be in. You know, they've had this game scheduled at least since yesterday, and Spartans already coming out hot here, getting the first goal once again. The last 3 games, the Dragons, haven't even found a lead in the early moments. Hopefully they can try to stop this ball from rolling too far before it gets too heavy and it reaches the bottom of the hill, but not looking great so far.
Yeah, and that is the 3rd game in a row that they've been scored on in 15 seconds or less. So, I mean, on top of already being with the cards against them, hold on a second, did they just get rid of the rival player and sub in a prospect player? Is that how confident they are?
Wait, are you talking about 10-piece Nugget?
Yes.
No. 10-piece Nugget is actually their legitimate substitute.
Oh!
So he's 1738 on the sheets.
Oh, well, never mind. My apologies. I will say, that is a grade A name right there. I like that. No, I bet that's a guy who likes McDonald's Sprite, too.
Oh, I bet he loves that McDonald's. That cranberry
if his McDonald's order, yeah, if his McDonald's order is a 10-piece nugget with barbecue sauce and a Sprite and a large fry, then he's a man after my own heart.
We'll have to do a post-game interview. I think we'll have time for it, so maybe we can ask him about his McDonald's. Or maybe he's more of a Wendy's guy. I don't know. Do they have 10-piece nuggets?
Oh, no. You can't be a Wendy's nugget guy. I'm sorry.
Well, dude, Wendy's spicy nuggets, you know, I think they're pretty fire. But their spicy nuggets, in my opinion, definitely outdo the McDonald's ones. But the standard McDonald's ones are better than standard Wendy's. And as you can see, they're actually, you know, we're not talking much about the game right now, because it does kind of have this foreboding feeling like the series is well on its way to being a sweep. But with that said, the Dragons have kept this at... They scored. Win.
Saying they haven't scored.
Oh, they haven't scored. Yeah. No, the Spartans have not been able to put in another one, which I think at this point in every other game they had 3 goals. And the Dragons almost getting one through here. The goal line saves coming out, and they just can't score, but they still haven't been scored on. Signs of life and signs of offense, but there it is. Schillen coming through, and yeah, it seemed inevitable.
That one just had to go in for the Dragons. I mean, they had to find a way to convert there. The defense was so awkward, and they still couldn't sneak its way through, and the first transition out of defense for the Spartans, they ended up scoring. And, you know, they It's not a blowout, although there is 2.5 minutes left, so plenty of time for goals to be scored on the Spartan side of things. But it almost seems like 10-piece. Oh, hold on. As he gets an insane touch there. Ends up balling out Mr. S. As Luxury looking for the solo play. He will find it off the backboard. But again, they cannot convert off the shots. He barely misses the double tap, and now the net open on the other side. Schillen looking for the shot, but it is saved by Teixeira. And the few opportunities they do have, they're just not converting on the low. Surely, this one will hit its mark.
Okay.
And they are down by 1.
Okay, there we go. So the first time, they should have scored, but they overcommitted. You know, understandably so. There were some great saves from the Spartans there that led to the counterattack. But this time they overcommitted, just barely managed to get back, and then got a goal on the counter. So next time, I expect them to just score off the initial push. I want to see them come out. They've now figured, well, I don't want to say figured out, but they've gone multiple opportunities in a row on the goal line of the Spartans. They just need to put him home, and what a save from Mr. S. You know, the Dragons are giving it all they got. The Dragons could be slightly more accurate, but the Spartans are also putting up a wicked defensive performance.
I don't know if it's like the Alamo, this is the last stand, but I mean, the Dragons have really picked it up in this game. They're actually out-shooting the Spartans at a 7-6 clip there. And maybe it's the fact that our boy 10-piece Nugget isn't warmed up. Maybe that's affecting things a little bit. But the Dragons look really good right now. But, I mean, that might be, at the moment, at least on stream, that might be a save of the season so far from Mr. S right there. That was an insane way to avoid this game from being tied up.
Absolutely, and now actually they're going to have an opportunity to put it in. The Luxury rushes the shot. He could have tapped the ball middle. He could have waited just a second longer, and it would have been a tie game.
He could have waited more than a second.
The nerves.
There was nobody.
Equalize. The Dragons, they have to be kind of kicking themselves after that one. Oh man, that was tough to watch.
I mean, he just had so much time, but here's Mayo, and he slots it perfectly on the right side. I mean, this is what we're talking about. I mean, Teixeira and Mayo have really been stepping up, and even Luxury's been stepping up huge in this game 3. Luxury looking a little quiet in games 1 and 2, but he's popped off with some big air dribbles, but the rival player's doing the dirty work on that play right there.
And, you know, the Spartans roster, it's weird to say, but it feels like they aren't really syncing up as well with this addition of the sub. Granted, like you said, might just be some issues warming up or just hopping in the middle of the series. It is kind of curious to me. You know, it feels like the Spartans were very, very confident about their ability to win this series. So maybe they just wanted to get some practice time with their sub in case that comes into play later. But still, you gotta say, it felt like with Vulcan, this team was playing a lot stronger for whatever reason that was due to.
I mean, I think it might be because he's a Wendy's Nugget guy. I'll be honest. that might be it. But yeah, I mean, either way, something changed. But I mean, on paper, 10 out of 10 times you make this move to put your sub in on the actual roster. But something's gone awry here. And for the Dragons, they got 14 shots, right? Or excuse me, bad at math, 12 shots to the 7 on the Spartan side, but still, you know, find themselves all tied up in the overtime here. But honestly, the way of this series is leaning towards the Dragons' favor. Although that being said, in the 2-1, Luxury finds himself, and he will get scored on the left side. And, you know, you don't want to be in a 2v1 with the 2 Titan players on the team. Well, actually, you know, it's a full Titan roster at this point.
Unless he's a Wendy's Nugget guy.
Unless he's a Wendy's Nugget guy, which if he is, that is no longer a grade A name. It has to be McDonald's Nuggets. I mean, maybe Chick-fil-A Nuggets, that's a pass, but honestly, they're not that good because the people just douse them in the sauce with the. I don't even know what that sauce is, but it's
good.
That's chemical warfare right there. I ain't about it.
What do you think all fast food? Okay, I'm not about to get into the semantics of fast food sauces with you. Although we could talk about this for a while longer. We are now ahead of schedule, so we have time. But you know what? I don't want to get heated over that right now. So instead, we will end it with the Spartans closing out. No more antics. I am a little bit sad. It felt like, you know, the Dragons had a lot of opportunities to equalize and then maybe even take advantage after. During regulation, they really kept the heat on the Spartans and almost got that through with a couple of clutch saves from the Spartans coming out. But in the end, the Spartans, their confidence proved to be valid as they were able to complete this sweep. And I won't get my one game prediction, but I do think the Dragons put up a good fight. At least we did get a couple close games, barring game 2. The games were all very close, and now the Spartans will continue on their win streak.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it was a bit of a lackluster win coming out from them, but yeah, extending their win streak to 4 after dropping that first game in the season here, and looking to be an uncharacteristic contender in the Western Conference right there, because at the moment, really, it's just Vanguard, Grandmasters, and Gravity, and even Gravity, they don't have the best record, even though I'm expecting a team with Soars to be dominating a little bit there. But, Spartans might have something to say about that Pacific Division for getting that auto bid into the playoffs, avoiding the play-in tournament, or even avoiding being the 5-6 seed. So, going to be looking at Gravity and Spartans there. And now, Dragons will move to 0-5 with, honestly, like I said earlier, the roster on paper should be decent. Burr is just crazy. I mean, the value you're getting for Burr at 19-17, just mechanics alone, granted chemistry is a different issue. I mean, that's a really good value, and Wise is also a solid player, and Luxury at 1850 is also an insane value. So, I mean, if they just get the players to show up, surely they secure a win at some point, but 0-5 is not how you want to start the season.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the no-shows are due to the poor record so far, or if the record is due to the no-shows, or a combining factor. But it's hard to imagine. Like you said, Burr is a fantastic player. Luxury, we even saw, he did his best in this matchup. It was obviously unbalanced from the start, but it's hard to imagine any team going 0-5 with Burr on the field, or 0-4 for that matter, as obviously he wasn't on this pitch. So it feels like there has to be some sort of scheduling thing there that falls on the responsibility of either the team captain or the general manager there to try and at least get players that can play, because putting it on the shoulders of the rivals, especially when you go on stream games, is quite tough for the players. And once again, like you said, great roster on paper, but if the paper is inaccurate, then, well, we're going to get some silly results.
Well, that indeed we will, but I think that's going to do it for the Titan matchup. But, I mean, that being said, coming up next, it's going to be the second go-around of battles between the orgs there. We just saw Dragons and Spartans. Obviously, Spartans ended up taking it into a sweep, but I think the next matchup should be a lot better. We got Hydra going off against the Knights, and assumingly, if both rosters show up, which Vulcan was there, so Vulcan should be there, and Biscuit should be there on the Hydra side of things. So, and Mayo and Tashega were just both playing in this matchup, so a bit of warm-up on both sides here. If they're both just seeing some Titan League action, Tashega, Mayo, and Vulcan should be looking to show their chops a little bit in that next matchup coming up.
Absolutely, and we will catch you in that matchup right after this short break. Take care, guys.